Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this presentation, I'm going to demonstrate to you how the injunction given in the 6th verse of the 49th Surah of the Quran, Surah al-Hujurat, if adhered to, can help preserve relationships, or can help preserve them from disintegrating when they encounter strain. And the way I'm going to do this is by presenting a hypothetical marital discord, a husband and wife discord scenario that I've developed and that I have turned into an exercise drill. Okay, but first, the verse. The verse is as translated by Sahih International. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm someone out of ignorance and become, over what you have done, regretful. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I'm going to share with you a clip of showing what Dr. Israr Ahmad spoke about this in his Bayan al-Quran. Dr. Israr Ahmad, for anyone who's not familiar, was an Islamic scholar who, in the opinion of many people, let's say for example Mufti Tariq Masood, was the greatest exegesis of the Quran that this region of the world produced, at least in recent memory. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and let's hear what he had to say.
बड़े आकाम में से पहला क्या है, या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू इन जाअकुम फासिकुम बिनबइन फतबय्यनु अन तुसीबू कौमन बिजहालतिन फतुस्बिहू अला मा फ़अलतुम नादिमीन। अहले ईमान, अगर तुम्हारे पास कोई फासिक शख्स आए जो मुत्तकी नहीं है, वो आए कोई बड़ी खबर लेकर, इतला लेकर, फतबय्यनु, तो तहकीक कर लिया करो, उसकी खबर पर कोई इकदाम न कर गुजरना। हो सकता है वो गलत बात बता रहा हो तुम्हें कि फलां कबीला जो है हमले की तैयारी कर रहा है, तो तुम पहले इसे प्रीएम्प्ट करने के लिए फौरी तौर पर तुम हमला कर दो, नहीं। फतबय्यनु, तहकीक कर लिया करो, अन तुसीबू कौमन बिजहालतिन, मबादा तुम जा पड़ो किसी कौम पर नादानी में, हमला कर बैठो किसी कौम के ऊपर, किसी कबीले के ऊपर नादानी में, फतुस्बिहू अला मा फ़अलतुम नादिमीन, और फिर तुम्हें होना पड़े जो कुछ के तुमने किया हो उस पर नादिम। इसलिए यह कि अफवाहों पर कोई इकदाम न किया जाए। हाँ, खबर लाने वाला सिद्दीक़ अकबर हो रज़ी अल्लाह ताला, और बात दूसरी है। लेकिन यह कि जो शख्स जो है काबिल एतमाद नहीं है, उसका किरदार, उसकी ज़िंदगी जो है उस तरह की नहीं है, तो उसके बारे में उसकी राय हुई किसी खबर पर फ़ौरन कोई इकदाम दुरुस्त नहीं होगा। उसकी पूरी तरह तहकीक करो, तफ्तीश करो। और ऐसा ही होता है अक्सर व बेशतर कि ये जो अफवाहों के ऊपर इकदाम कर दिए जाते हैं, उनसे बड़े बड़े झगड़े शुरू हो जाते हैं, बड़ी बड़ी जंगें शुरू हो जाती हैं।
All right. So if for anybody who might be joining me from abroad and is struggles to understand or comprehend what Dr. Israr Ahmad was saying, which is of course in literary Urdu, you may please send me an email and I will transcribe it for you. All right. Now for the hypothetical marital discord scenario. Okay, bear with me here, please. This is important. I have to present this and also illustrate to you the sort of the rigor of the circumstances. This is a fictitious scenario, of course, but it's inspired from what I've actually seen in my own life with relationships, and in particular husband-wife relationships falling apart. So it is basically an amalgamation of real-life observations. So please bear with me as I go through this. It's a little bit tedious for sure, but as soon as it's over, we will inshallah dive into the resolution, and I will, by the time this presentation is complete, inshallah have you fully convinced of the hikmah in the 6th verse of Surah al-Hujurat. So now for the hypothetical scenario. A young couple have just been married and all is well between them. Both husband and wife are compatible, well-intentioned, and sincere to each other, and committed to the marriage's welfare alike. Then One day in this young relationship, the husband commits some minor impropriety, the wife being the aggrieved party. So you may conceive of whatever is most relatable to you over here. For whoever might like that I share what, let's say, what I have seen in my life or how I related to it or would relate to it. Let's say the husband has come back from work late and his phone has been busy the entire duration of his commute. So once he gets back home, it's discovered that he's been talking to a lady who works for them. Okay, so this is just entirely, you may, like I said, you may insert here whatever you find more relatable. So what's important here is the generic makeup of the husband committing some mundane impropriety and then the wife confronting him and them coming to a sort of compromise. That the generic makeup is what's important here. Okay, so then the wife confronts the husband and makes her objection. To this, the husband immediately acknowledges his fault and he apologizes. The wife accepts, but also says that she would like to be away for a few days. The husband in turn consents to this and they agree for her to visit her parents' home for a few days. And the husband does this without undue resistance. Okay, so far so good. Each is fully considerate and respectful of the other's concerns. Okay, so that is a predicate here that both husband and wife, they are well-intentioned people and neither wants to see. They're both willing to compromise or accept fault wherever it is. It merits acceptance and neither is trying to sabotage the marriage. But as you will see, as is in this presentation, inshallah, it is in today's day and age, the digital age, it is just by virtue of, if one might say virtue, the mechanics of the life in the digital age are such that being well-intentioned and sincere is oftentimes, it is just not sufficient. In fact, in most instances, it would appear to me that it is in fact not sufficient to hold relationships together. Okay, so back to the scenario. So after the wife has left for her parents' home, the husband, whose composure had thus far been intact, he begins to waver. And towards the night, he becomes overwrought with worry and falls into ruminations. Okay, so among the thoughts or considerations that are plaguing him, the first is that, of course, once the wife shows up at her parents' home in what is essentially an impromptu and unexpected visit, the family will expect her to furnish some sort of explanation on what has landed her there. If for nothing else, then to exclude the possibility that perhaps there's been some crisis. So the wife is going to be under a lot of pressure to give some hint of what has happened. Second, the marriage is young and the husband doesn't yet have any goodwill with his in-laws. And then furthermore, that statistically speaking at least, women when under strain are very likely to take others into confidence about relationship matters. Now again, what's important here is that this is what the husband is ruminating on. Okay, so right now in this scenario, it's not so much what actually happens in the wife's parents' home. Right now in this scenario, for me to illustrate what the purpose of the presentation is to show you the hikmat in that verse. It's well sufficient that we understand what is going on in the husband's mind. Okay, so the husband, while he's lying in bed and ruminating, what he goes through is, of course, it's psychological stress. If for whoever has studied stress physiology, you would know that there's a certain, I forget the name, there's an institute in Montreal in Canada who have studied stress, and they have developed a framework where stress has 4 ingredients to it. and they've made an acronym of it. It's NUTS. So what's relevant to us right now, I'll touch only on that. That is the third. In NUTS, T, and that stands for threat to self or ego. And that is what the husband is experiencing while he's ruminating, and he can't go to sleep. And he scores red on it. That what is he's worried about losing face with his in-laws. He's thinking about how the context in what the first consideration to whom the wife might speak about whatever infraction he's committed, what the context of that presentation, the wife's presentation might be, and then to what degree that presentation, and when the wife cites what the husband did that prompted her to leave, to what degree might it be authentic to what he actually did. So all these considerations, and he scores red on, like I said, threat to self or ego. And what happens when you're under stress that way? Again, you may here insert whatever is most relatable to you. I'm going to go with what is most statistically significant. Okay, so let's say the median, basically, that the husband, he falls into an ill-advised coping mechanism. And what might that be? Let's say that before the husband and wife, they entered into the marriage, they made promises with each other, and the husband used to be a smoker. So he committed to the wife that I will give it up. And he was true to it till this point. But now, when the wife has gone, he's clouded with uncertainty, and he's scoring red on this stress parameter. He lapses into it. So now, again, this is just to make it relatable. It's the framework of the scenario that you have to understand. And that is that one insult to the marriage, which was the husband's impropriety talking to somebody on the phone with whom she shouldn't have been talking that extensively, according to the wife at least, or their mutual understanding with each other rather. That insult, without anything whatsoever from either party that would have directly exacerbated it, any resistance from the husband in acknowledging it, or any unfair demands from the wife in turn, nothing whatsoever. Nonetheless, it has now spawned a second insult to the marriage, which is that once the wife, she cools down and has her time away, once she comes back to the husband's home, she's going to discover that the husband has been smoking. That is how one insult spawns another insult, through the action of stress, in this case on the husband. So before I proceed with the resolution, here I'm going to stop, and I'm going to ask you, just to make it more relatable and fun for you, if you would perhaps please conceive of what you might think can be a clean and operationalized measure that can be arranged by newlyweds to preserve, if we're being proactive, or recover if we're being retroactive, their marriage from falling apart in the face of just what is a mundane insult, as the one we discussed, that the husband is late to work and he was speaking to a female colleague. Okay, what is just a basic human error. Please, if you like, you take a moment and here, and let's move into the resolution.